Today we're covering the new 2024 California Association of Realtors Residential Purchase Agreement package. It's a package because it's composed of several other advisories and disclosures, altogether 27 pages. It starts with the disclosure regarding real estate agency relationship. This advises your client of your duties as agents to your clients, and of course you have to have it signed. These are 2 pages, and right after it is a California residential purchase agreement and joint escrow instructions. This is what the escrow company will follow. Upon ratification of this offer, they will have to refer to this contract. It begins with the date of preparation. You have to make sure that your dates are correct, and the offer from, which is your buyers or clients, name should be here. The legal name should be here. Again, property acquired is the subject property, and you have to fill this line as well. And the city, county, and the zip code. I usually include the assessor's parcel number as good practice, and this paragraph of agency, it confirms the seller's brokerage firm. If they have their own listing agent, you have to include the brokerage name. If it's a dual, then click on the dual agency if you're also representing both parties. However, if you're only representing buyer, of course this box should be clicked, and as you can see, things change when you do that. And yeah, the license numbers are here, and make sure you fill it out correctly. And on this paragraph we have the, as you can see, this actual contract is 17 pages. Now here in this paragraph we have the purchase price, and if it's all cash you have to click this box, and close of escrow is filled out on this line if it's in days, but if you have an exact date then you can indicate it here. Expiration of offer is already defaulted, however you can do it sooner or much later, and you have to fill it out here. And initial deposit amount, which is the earnest money deposit, you have to fill out how much, or if it's 10,000, 2,000, whatever, and this part populates. And of course here are the instructions that once this contract is accepted, you have within 3 days, business days, after acceptance, to have the buyer make a wire transfer of the deposit. And of course this is the portion where you have the increased deposit, and if your buyer agrees, then of course you have to click that box. Or you can also indicate upon removal of certain contingencies. Loan amount, if it's a financed purchase, you have to indicate here the loan amount, and of course it's defaulted as a conventional loan, or if checked, then you have to indicate the type of financing, seller financing, VA or FHA. And once you click on this boxes, you're going to get an automatic, I'll give you an example. If I click that box, it will automatically indicate, eventually you'll see a form advisory for an FHA loan. It will attach itself to this package. Anyways, moving on, we have occupancy type. It's defaulted to primary, but you can also use these boxes to indicate if it's a secondary property or investment home. And here we have the balance of the down payment. It will automatically populate, as well as the purchase price total once you indicate an amount here and here, and so on. It will indicate it here. Anyways, have the buyer's initial, and that's just one page of 1 of 17. And then again on page 2 we have the property address automatically populated as well as the date. Then we have seller credits on this portion here. This is where you indicate if there's an agreement between the seller and buyer that the seller will credit, or if the buyer is asking for a credit for closing cost or other things like additional requests for monies, like for repairs, whatever. They can also indicate it here, additional finance terms. Now, here is important. This is a box that says, if you click here, it says seller agrees to pay the obligation of buyer to compensate buyer's broker under separate agreement, which is the SBBB attached. We can discuss that in another video, but this is a form that you will have to attach with this package if the seller agrees to pay for your commission as the buyer's agent. Okay, and these are just other terms and conditions, like verification of an all-cash offer. They need to see sufficient funds, and it has a default here of 3 days. And of course, if it's a financed purchase, you have to indicate if you have the pre-approval attached or the pre-qualification or etc. I know you get it. I mean, and everything is explained here anyways. And as you can see, they have default dates here that you can actually change. You have lines here, portions here that you can fill out the dates that the buyer prefers. And here is the paragraph for contingencies, time to remove contingencies, and contingencies that has been removed. Assuming that your buyer agrees to have a no loan and no appraisal contingency, you click it here. But of course, you need to advise them, especially with the appraisal and the investigation of properties, because this is where they will know exactly what's the condition of the subject property that they're purchasing. And it's highly recommended to advise them on getting their own home inspection, termite inspection, or whatever that seems fit for the situation. However, there are times when the buyers would request to make their offer stronger and perhaps be competitive. They will ask to remove all of this contingent, and click it here because this is the box that says removal or waiver of contingency. When this is clicked, then a form is attached automatically, or if not, then you need to add this form to the offer. And of course, this is the portion where it says insurance. You should give enough ample time. Nowadays, especially with California insurers, ample time for the buyers to get a proper insurance for the subject property. Review of seller's documents, it's defaulted to 17 days, but you can also shorten it. Preliminary title report, also 17 days. Again, you can also change it, and so on. So you get my drift, right? And then here is another contingency, and once you click on this, you will need to attach that form. This is a sale of buyer's property. This is another contingency. Time of possession. This is when you're delivering the keys to your clients after the close of escrow. And seller occupied or vacant units. This is when the seller decides or has agreed with the buyers, and then both parties agreed, that the seller will be staying longer after the close of escrow, and it's indicated here. And then of course the proper CAR form should be attached if the seller decides to stay after the close of escrow. occupied units by tenants or anyone other than the seller. Here you have to indicate that, and see an automatic form has been attached, but that's the form you need to attach. Even if just in case it doesn't for some reason attach it, you have to be aware, because anyways they will tell you what form to include. And here in this paragraph we have documents, fees, and compliance, and the time of performance. And they're all defaulted. Still smoke alarm, so it's defaulted to 7 days. You can also indicate a sooner or later date. Have buyer's initial. Moving on to page 3, we have also this paragraph for items included and excluded. These are the appliances that your buyers might have seen in during the open house and they would want included. And anything that you put here, anything that you include in this offer will have to be it's negotiable. But you just have to indicate if the buyer requests for something or like an appliance or some kind of device that they see attached to the property, you can also indicate that in additional items included. Now if there's items that has to be excluded, then you have to indicate it here, and everything you indicate here is subject to negotiation. On this paragraph Q, allocation of costs, the description and who pays what. Oftentimes this is the portion where the escrow officer would also look into, like the owner's title insurance policy, who's paying what. You can indicate whoever in that particular county is responsible, if it's buyer or seller, what is customary in that county or city, or everything's negotiable anyways. Even if you put both, it can be negotiable, anything. Both parties has to agree upon a common thing, so to make this a successful escrow. And this contract is where you put all those terms and conditions that your client requests or would like to happen. It's up to the seller to negotiate it with the buyers. And of course, county, city transfer tax. In some counties, the seller pays for it, but city transfer tax in some counties, the buyers pays for it. And of course, here it's defaulted to seller and buyer as far as the HOA disclosures and certification fee. They have indicated it by default between the parties. Now, HOA transfer fees, to some, it's in some cases the seller pays for it, but it depends. You can check on the customary terms and conditions in that particular county, or you can just indicate what the buyer wants, and then it's up to the parties to negotiate it. And so on and so forth, other fees or costs. And here's the home warranty. This is where you choose the plan. If the buyer or the seller is going to pay for it, then this is where you indicate the type of plan, home warranty plan, that your buyer wants. And here is the home warranty company that your buyer requests or may want. And here's the other terms and conditions. Any terms or conditions that's not included in this pre-printed form, you can indicate it here, like this, or anything that's not covered. And of course, buyer's initial. Here are other addendums and advisories, and if you click on any of these boxes, it will be added to this package. Those that are already checked by default are already included in this package, and these are all verbiage, and I guess you know that you have to go over it, at least review it with your buyers. And my advice or recommendation as an agent is to make sure that you're also familiar with all this verbiage. Then buyer initials here. This is page 5, the same thing, buyer initials, and the same thing, buyer initials. These are all verbiage. Same thing, buyer initials. And as you can see, the top part has been automatically populated. Buyer's initials, make sure the all pages are acknowledged. Here's another one here. And these are explanations of the joint escrow instructions. Buyer's initials again, and buyer's initials. And here is also the same thing, a lot of verbiage, but this is quite important to know. So I would highly suggest that you go over it and understand what this mediation and arbitration of disputes is all about, because you, for sure, as the agent, will need to explain it to the buyers, have them initial it. And again, this is so important that there's another provision for buyer's acknowledgement as well. And here, page 15, a bunch of verbiage again, have them initial. And of course, there is the offer expiration. And here is, you click this box if your buyer is an entity buyer, meaning to say, let's say they have a trust or they have a company that's buying this property. And as you can see, when you click on the entity buyers, there is this lines that pops up here, this portion that allows you to fill out the information, and of course have the authorized signer, a name here. Let's say it's a living trust, or they're purchasing the property through a trust, then yeah, have the legally authorized signer sign and print the names here. And here is the paragraph for acceptance of offer. And if the seller has a counter offer, this box is clicked. Or if this offer is considered a backup offer, then you need to attach the backup offer addendum. And of course, if the same thing as above, if this is an entity seller, click on this, meaning say if the property is sold by a company or a trust, and it says here clearly that the authorized signer will have to sign here and fill this part. Now, this offer not accepted box, this is the portion where the seller's initials will appear and the date it was rejected. This is when the offer was, your buyer's offer is rejected. However, if this is blank, then good for you. That means the purchase agreement has been ratified. Anyways, this is the portion where you have the real estate brokers section, and complete this portion as well as the seller's brokerage firm if you can. And if more than one agent from the same firm represents the seller, this forms needs to be attached. As you can see, if you click on it, the additional acknowledgement is attached, and have the buyer's initial. This portion, for some reason, I always notice that this page 17 of 17, this part where they have the buyer's initial lines are often missed out. So I would highly recommend to make sure that you read this whole package thoroughly before you start drafting the contract offer, and make sure that this portion is not missed out. And here is the escrow holder acknowledgement. This is our escrow company, and all of this information is indicated. And upon the ratification of the offer and the opening of escrow, they usually have to sign and fill this up as an acknowledgement. And yeah, and there's an additional box here that says presentation of offer. Oftentimes the seller's agent would initial this, or the seller themselves would initial this, and the date that the offer has been presented. Now, in addition to the 17 pages, we have the buyer's investigation advisory, which also needs to be acknowledged and signed by your client. And then the advisory or disclosure for possible representation of more than one buyer or seller, disclosure and consent. Yes, this is included. As you can see, this is just one page, and the Fair Housing and Discrimination Advisory is also included in the RPA package. These are just advisories, rights, limitations. Have the buyer sign it. And of course, the buyer homeowners insurance advisory. This is very important now, especially in California, where there's things with, the insurers of California properties. But anyways, have them read over this. This is important that they're aware that there are certain nuances now that may affect the insurability of the subject property. Anyways, have them sign this so that you're sure that they are acknowledging this page. And wire fraud and electronic funds transfer advisory, also an advisory indicating scams that's prevalent nowadays, so that they're made aware of. So be careful with electronic funds being transferred or wire fraud. Have them sign this. And then the California Consumer Privacy Act Advisory Disclosure Notice. Have them sign this as well. Oh, this part, that's it. I guess that other form was added because I was clicking on the sample page, and as I mentioned, these forms are automatically attached to the package, and that's it. Thank you so much, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.